Hey, Nicole Roberts Jones here, and welcome to another episode of the Meaningful Work Podcast, a time I connect with you to make sure you are in alignment with God's assignment for your life. And I'm going to tell you, our guest today, I think this is one of the biggest barriers to us living in the abundantly above all God has ordained for us. It's your feelings about your money. It's you feeling guilty for being wealthy. Well, we got a guest today that's going to pour in strategy, how to align your purpose with your wealth, and dare I say, how to be rich and righteous. Her name is Marcella Milan, and I'm messing up your second name, girl, already, Williams, who is a licensed behavioral financial advisor, award winning entrepreneur, podcast host, and co founder of Legacy Builder Group LLC, a premier coaching and investment firm dedicated to helping families build wealth with purpose. With over 15 years of experience, or excuse me, of expertise in finance, she is a leading authority in guiding first generation 6 and 7 figure earners to achieve financial certainty by shifting their mindset. Wow, I'm so excited about this conversation. Eliminating mental barriers around money and developing sustainable wealth building behaviors. Her transformative insight have earned her recognition in the Wall Street Journal, U.S. News and World Report, NPR, Yahoo Finance, and other major media outlets. As a sought after speaker, Marcella delivers dynamic, results driven presentations on financial psychology, legacy building strategies, and wealth behavior transformation. So, y'all get your pen out and welcome Marcella. Hey, girl.
Hello, Dr. Nicole. It's so great to be here.
Girl, you know, you can call me Nicole. You know better than that. So,
I do know.
and I messed up. Listen, I only say when I see you, and I'm like, hey, Marcella, girl, say, is it, did I say your last name correctly?
It
Probably
was
not.
closer than last time. So Marlon.
Marlon, see, we're going to get it together, right? We're going to get it
That's
together.
right.
So I'm so excited you're here. So let's just dig right into
Let's do it.
share a little bit first about your journey and how you became or what inspired you to become a behavioral, which I've never heard of, by the way, financial advisor.
Yeah, it was definitely God's plan. I grew up as a child. I was just someone that was really fascinated with human behavior. Why people did the things that they did. So as a kid, I would just watch the adults around me, how they would behave to life, to death, loss. There was so much involved, and so psychology is what I thought was what I wanted to be. But then my Caribbean parents said, no, you're not doing that. And so I went to the business, and I went to finance, got my degree in business and finance, and started, we worked with my family, then started a family owned business with my brother. We branched out because I really had a desire there was something missing, especially in our community, but there's something missing when it comes to finance. Here I was with my parents building a business, and I just felt this disconnect with the money.
Hmm.
And I wanted more. I was driven towards legacy and what it meant and the role that money played a part of. So we started our financial services business over 15 years ago. And along that path, the coaching was a huge part of our practice. And that tied to my desire of being a psychiatrist and studying psychology. But I did not know about behavioral economics, behavioral financial advice. None of that was on my radar. And it was just God, because it was the craziest thing. And I won't go into the whole full story, but I really discovered it on a plane traveling back from London,
Hmm.
watching a documentary on the plane. And I saw that an individual's behavioral economist. And I went into a deep dive, reading books, studying the person that I was on that documentary, and everyone in the behavioral economics field. And that's when I stumbled across the FINRA designation of being a behavioral financial advisor. And when I tell you I am so at home in this space, that was all God who placed me where my heart's desire always was. And now combining money and and psychology.
Yeah.
That's where I am. That's
So
how it.
good. So good. And so, what I love is total example, y'all, of Romans 8:28. All things work together for the good, right? Y'all listen, those of you that watch the podcast or listen to the podcast over and over, I seem to say that Bible verse on just about every episode. And I love it because what so many people don't realize is your inability to make money has to do with your mindset. It's not always about another strategy. It's that too. It's not always about another stream of revenue. It's that too. But when you start that additional stream of revenue, because this is me, I'm out in myself. Some of y'all have heard my story. I'm from South Central LA, so I grew up robbing Peter to pay Paul. We don't have that money right now. All the things that, although I was now in a new mental zip code, my mindset was still South
Mhm.
Central LA. And so I had to really work on that. So what do you believe as successful, especially Black women? Because the majority of my listeners are Black women. So I'm not leaving you out if you're a Black man, a white woman, or a white man, but I'm just saying. So what do you believe are some of the barriers, mental barriers for us as Black women around our money? What have you
Ooh,
seen in the package?
yes.
Right.
I think your story explained a lot of it. For us, even if you came from a sense of privilege, it's still, especially in this country, it's deeply rooted still with the slavery, still with lack of access, still with systemic oppression. And all of that ties to the money traumas that we deal with. I always say, if you're Black in America, you've got money traumas.
Hello.
Okay, and they're subtle and they're in your face. So
Mm,
I think for women in particular, obviously there's more layers to that simply by being a woman, and then adding the layer of being African American. And so you can look at that as, okay, worthiness. Worthiness plays a huge role in how you identify yourself to money,
mm,
your limiting belief, your belief system. Mindset is everything with this. It drives our thinking. If you have a limiting belief, if you have any belief system that is rooted in scarcity, in fear, and unworthiness, then your behavior will sabotage your goals, period. So it is important that we always take the time to explore, what are we believing about ourselves? Are we perfectionist because we feel we have to be, because we have to prove something to this world, that
mm.
we are worthy, that we are good enough, that the list goes on and on. So it's really imperative that we take the time as women to understand our identity of simply being who we are. And it's not tied to how much money you make, it's not tied to your corporate position, it's not tied to any of that. But who you are as a woman in this world, as a Black woman in this world, that you are worthy.
So good, so good. And I love that you called it money trauma. By the way, if you guys see me taking notes, you see me looking down, I'm taking notes because I'm learning too. So even though I've talked to Marcella how many times about this? Anyway, so all the time. So money trauma. And the thing that's interesting, you guys, is if you don't treat trauma, whether it's money trauma, whether it's trauma from some abuse you've had in your past, I can go on and on. If
Mhm.
you act like it's not there, it just grows. It's like a gremlin. You watering it and don't even realize you're watering it or feeding it or whatever the gremlins used to do that they would grow. Right?
Right, the water.
And so for me, that was really what was happening for me. I kept feeling guilty, and I'm sharing this because somebody on here is this is probably resonating with you. I remember, Marcella, when I first married my husband and my car lease was up. And I had a nonprofit back then, and we went and I lived in Boston. Thank God I live in the DMV now, but I lived in Boston. And I'm saying that because the weather was bad. So I thought, ooh, I need to get an SUV so I could drive. So
Mm.
I go to the Mazda dealership because I'm trying to be frugal, right? I go to the Mazda dealership, and the man at the Mazda dealership says, go next door. Next door was BMW. And I was like, I can't get a BMW. First of all, why would Mazda be telling me to go to BMW? They're not even related. And so he said, because the residual value on this Mazda is not going to do well for you, but BMW will. And I'm thinking, who does that? So then I go over to BMW, and it's the same price, it's all the same, but I feel guilty. And I'm sharing this with you guys because this has to do with my money trauma. I get home because I didn't buy it because I couldn't do it. My husband says, why are you stopping God from blessing you? You didn't even want a BMW. Who does that? That could be nothing but God, that he's going to tell you to go next door. It's going to be the same price. And yet, and so I'm sharing that because I want you guys to realize that anytime you have guilt around making more, or I'm not saying you got to be materialistic. I'm not saying it's all material things are focused. I'm not saying that. But I want you to realize when you are looking at all the ways that you can bless, not just yourself, but all the people around you when you make more money and you feel guilty from it, it's related to some money trauma you got.
Yes. And it's so important. I love that story because that is a picture perfect example. And as you identified that you were dealing with money trauma, one of the things I teach people, it is so important for us to tap back into our money memories.
Mm.
What is it? Where did that money trauma come from, right? What did you hear growing up? And yes, there are things that we all, might be able to relate to. Just the environment, like you said, you're from South Central. Everyone was kind of the same way, probably speaking the same language about money. But then there are things that are personal, like what did you see? Maybe not here with your parents. Did they argue about money, or maybe the single parent? Were they saying things like, "We don't get," like, yeah, you said, you mentioned that earlier. Were you hearing negative talk about money
Right.
constantly? That is programming. Your computer's a brain, and you pick up everything, especially those formative years. We are sponges, and that what you learn between the ages of 1 and 6 will stick with you into your adult life.
Hmm.
And if you don't recognize it, and if you don't think about these things, then you won't be aware of your behavior. And then that behavior, as I mentioned before, will sabotage you. So you gave an example, and I'm sure you've been doing some work around that. Now you're more accepting of your worthiness,
Right.
but you had to do the work.
Mhm. And I had to let go of feeling guilty. And then my husband, oh, let me tell you something. My husband went into me, y'all. But even after that, because again, I'm not spending any more money. I'm not, it's the same value, but I felt guilty. And it was all had to do with I love money, memories, money trauma. So with that, let's move because I'll keep talking about this. And I want you guys to get this. If you're dealing with money trauma, don't worry, we're gonna tell you if you need Marcella, how you can reach out. But I really want you to take some time. When you are doing what there's a Bible verse that says, another of my favorites, and those of you that are here with me, to him who's able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ask or think. If God wants to do abundantly above all, and it's not just about money, it's your entire life, everything in your life. If he wants you to live in abundance, then your inability to live in it has to not do with him, has to do with how you're looking at your money. So I think this is a perfect segue, and tell me if it's not, to talk about wealth building with purpose. Love that. Tell us a little bit about that and what you mean by it, and how people can align their financial goals with it.
Yeah, it really has to do with just not chasing the numbers. You know, we Well, I feel like if they're listeners of your podcast, Nicole, then they understand the power of purpose. And but so often we compartmentalize our lives, right? And
Mm,
so we don't really understand that how we do one thing is how we'll do everything. And so if we're trying to live more purposefully, that means in one area of your life, we need to do that in every area of our life, including with our money. And that means being intentional about aligning your money behavior with your values, your
mm,
purpose, your goals, your vision. And then what are they? So, one of the first steps we do when we start the financial planning process, the first meeting they have is to go through and to identify their core values and their purpose for money itself.
mm.
Money is a terrible master, but an excellent servant.
Oh, wait. Say that again. That was so good. Money is what?
Money is a terrible master,
But an
but an
excellent. Okay.
excellent servant.
So good. Sorry, go ahead.
No, 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 no. I mean, and it is what it says. If you actually just kind of take a moment and pause and look around and look at others and look within yourself, ask the question: are we chasing money? Is money our master, or is it
Mm,
my servant? If you are in a place where you're constantly torn down, you're stressed, anxiety, then money's your master when it
mm,
comes to getting things done, getting the paying for the bills and getting the things you need. And I'm not talking about because you're not making enough money. I'm talking about people making well into six figures, okay? And seven figures who have this sense of this lack of control.
mm,
They feel it constantly, and these are the things, especially as first generation high earners. It's this constant fear of losing it. Money becomes your master. But when money serves you, there's peace around your money. You're giving your money an assignment.
mm,
I mean, a servant will only be a good servant or server if it knows what this job is. And so money needs to know what the job is for you. And this is why we take them through the core values and the purpose, because for many times I hear really the purpose, the meaning for money is about freedom. It's about impact. It's about family. It's about security. These are some of the top values that come out of my clients. And then form it so they can understand that, okay, so now when you are setting up your finances, it has to align with these values. So your purpose turns wealth from a goal into a tool for legacy
Mm.
when it has that assignment set. You're budgeting for experiences because that's important for you. I say, "Look, you want to be able to do this, make that a line item on your budget. So you're investing in ways that suits your lifestyle. So it's about really making wealth with purpose, making money meaningful so that it is a powerful tool that is working to build your legacy.
Ooh, I think that's so good. I think where I was, look, I'm out myself, even though some of y'all might not out yourselves, but that's okay. Um, when I had that, I'm gonna say South Central LA mentality, I'm gonna keep it real, making six figures, but still, my mindset was still in the household that I had to wait for certain things because we couldn't afford it yet, and all this stuff. I realized that everything shifted for me when I started looking at money differently, and I didn't realize this until you said it. And then I started assigning my money and didn't realize I was doing that. Listen, y'all, one of the things I love to do is have experiences. We go out, we travel. I want to go to a concert, and I want to sit in VIP. I don't want to sit in regular seats. I'm spoiled
Right?
like that. But I save for those opportunities so that we can do that without taking away from what we need to live and save for retirement. And I think, I never realized to this moment that that is beyond a budget. It's assigning your money to the things that are important to you.
Exactly.
So good.
Exactly.
And still tithing, still giving to causes that I want. All those things are all parts of things where I am assigning. So good. I never looked at it like that.
Yes, you were doing it. So now it's even more powerful. And this is what I tell people. Sometimes we live within our values. Sometimes we're doing things. And and when I'm speaking, I'm like, it may not be new to you, but when you didn't identify it, you were a what is called a unconscious competence.
Hmm.
You were competently doing it. You were competent in what you're doing, but you were unconscious. When you become conscious, you unlock even more. So now you're already doing great. But
Hmm.
just you identifying that will probably elevate things to another level for you.
And on the same token, what was also coming in my mind are all the people that you're making great money. You're already making six figures. You get a raise, and the same issues you had in the other tax bracket, you're still having in this tax bracket because you're not making assignments.
That's
You're just living and just paying for stuff and not stopping long enough to make assignments with your money. So good.
Mhm. That's one of the key habits we can start forming.
So good. So good. So let's talk a little bit. And we kind of talked about financial psychology, but if a woman, man, whoever's listening, I don't want to leave fellas out. I always say have a few good men, so I don't want to leave y'all out.
That's right.
But if you had to give a woman the first steps to really creating legacy, to creating wealth with purpose, what would you say those first steps should be?
So I'll say the first one, and I'll say briefly because we spoke about it in a sense, which is always mindset. Make sure you have your mind, the right mindset set up for that journey.
Right.
And I call it legacy pregame.
Oh, that's
Legacy
good. Mm. Oh, I like your words, girl. Legacy pregame. That's good. I'm writing it down. Go ahead.
pregame. And that podcast is coming soon. So
Yeah. Oh, it's called Legacy Pregame.
that's
Oh,
right.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Yay.
Too. And pregame, we know about the athletes. There's a set of routines that they go through to get ready for the main game. And we need to do the same thing when we're preparing for building wealth, preparing for retirement, whatever that long term objective is.
Hmm.
There is a series of mindset and environment shifts that have to happen before you can get there.
Mm.
And because what you don't want is the money to come and you're not ready.
Ooh, okay. So listen, since you said pregame, let me add in here, right? Because it just popped in my spirit. I know you're about to go into the next one.
No,
So when you are on a some kind of now, mind you, you guys, I don't really watch sports. If I say this wrong, roll with the example, okay? So football teams at the end of a game, they watch their play reel because they're looking for how they can improve their strategy, especially if they're playing a team they've played before. Maybe they lost the game before. They're not going to go into the game the same way they went in before. And I think where many of us fail to stop and look at if something's not working, how do you stop and recalibrate your plays?
hmm
So good. Come on,
Mm,
pregame. Legacy
mm.
pregame. So good.
Stop
And
it.
then the other piece is looking at legacy pregame. The other thing they do is if you go in to play a team and you know it's a star athlete on that team and you guys have to make a defense against that star athlete, they're gonna watch him to be able to create strategy around it. So if you see someone else building legacy, doesn't mean you're gonna build your legacy the exact same way, but success leaves clues. So if you can study what they did and find how it works for you, ooh, that's so good.
That is very good. And well, let me make sure you're finished with your
Yeah,
point.
go ahead.
Okay, because that was especially that second one. I wanted to pick up from there because that's very important. But yeah, we have to also be mindful because when you do that, that individual, that athlete is studying maybe a particular individual in their position or the person that they're defending. So if it's football, their defense, if they're on the line, then they're looking at that individual in front of them. There are different plays they're looking at, and they're looking at the individuals that they have to deal with. If it's
Mhm.
basketball, if they're guard, they're looking at the individuals that are there to block their progress.
That's
And
good.
so, what we have to do in the real world example of finance, there's a lot of noise and what's happening is that we're being distracted. We're not even sure where to look. What am I studying? Because
Mhm.
everyone's coming at me with all this information about finance. Do I do crypto? Do I do real estate? Do I do stock? Do I EFT? So there's so many, there's so much information. So now you need to know, oh, where do I need to focus in on when I'm looking at these plays?
Mm.
What strategies am I dealing with? What will happen is that clarity and that understanding will bring more confidence because that's one of the key issues with moving forward and building wealth, especially for women, is financial confidence. And for many women, we lack that, and it causes us to procrastinate with
Mhm.
investing because we're not sure where to go, and we're afraid to do it wrong.
Right.
Let's remember, we're high earners. We get the job done. We're great at what we do. Failing is not an option,
Right.
but it is okay. It is okay. But it's okay in the sense that you can't allow that to hinder your ability to build wealth to start today. So one of the other step I was going to mention is to simply start with automating, like just putting something aside, whether it's your 401k, whether it's an IRA, whether passive investing is one of the areas where it's feels safer to start. And I say passive investing, one, because it's a part of what I do. But that is when you set up an account. It's you have a diverse range of businesses, aka stocks, that you're invested in. And the money is actively working for you in the markets. When it's down, it's down. When it's up. You're not being afraid. You're not panicking because the markets are down because you know it's going to rebound. I got 10 plus years to think about this. I don't need to worry about that. It's passive. You set it and forget it,
Mhm.
and working with someone that you trust that explains everything, the details when you're setting that up. So now you're starting to build your confidence. Oh, okay, I'm learning these new words. This doesn't feel like it's too much. I can check my accounts. Okay, this is going on. Oh, look at me, I'm doing something. All right. But start somewhere. You don't need to start with risk. So it's understanding your risk tolerance. There's so much to that you can know about yourself around this.
Mhm.
But what I want to make sure that I communicate is to start. But start for where you are. Start with your comfort level. Because yes, the key is to build wealth, but in order to build wealth, you have to build confidence.
Mm.
And so that's what I want to see more women and just building more confidence, understand they don't have to do this alone. Automate, as we talked about before, set it, forget it. Um, Increase your contributions to your investment accounts. And this is automated, taking out, just like Uncle Sam, he's taking out his money before you see your paycheck. You do the same thing with your paycheck. You automate it, take out your money, so it's going into your long-term wealth. And then as you get comfortable with that, now you can look at the next step. You can expand your risk if you're comfortable with that. Maybe some, maybe some real estate. There's the various areas. Crypto, again, not the biggest fan of crypto, but these are the things people are talking about. But if you want to dabble in that, then you're As your confidence grows, then you can expand. But don't feel the need to listen to all the noise
Yeah.
and do what other people are doing because, oh, it's a sexy thing and everyone's doing it. That's the herd, it's a herd bias, and it can be very dangerous.
So good, dangerous. And when you're clueless, that means you're going to function clueless. So just because you hear everybody else doing it, as my mother would say, the other thing you used to say, just because you see everybody else jumping in the lake, you're going to jump in it too, right? So be
Exactly.
mindful of that. So, in talking about building financial confidence, I want to put up your website. So those of you that are saying, oh my goodness, Marcella is stepping on my toes, she's walking down my street. How can they, they're going to go to your website. And those of you that are listening, it's marcellamwilliams.com. I'll put it in the show notes. Tell them what they'll see when they go to the website and how you can support them.
Yes, yes, yes. So on my website, I will have a free guide. When you go to marcellamwilliams.com and you'll see a free gift there. It's about helping you make decisions that will build more confidence. And so there's a guide there, making financial decisions with confidence. And so I want you to download that and review it. I have some really helpful steps that will that will just allow you to take control of your emotions. Because again, we feel more confident also when we're in control, and not just control of our money, but in control of our emotions and control of our behavior and control of our thinking. So there's some practices there to help guide you through that process. So just visit marcellamwilliams.com and let's start that journey.
So good, so good. So as we wrap this episode, you've given so much great insight. Again, money trauma, these are my notes, y'all. Right? Money based on your money memories, worthiness and limiting beliefs that we don't even realize that we have, giving your money an assignment, and even our legacy pregame. So good, so good. And those are just highlights. That's not all the notes I have because I don't want to take all the time to give you guys all my notes. I want to hear from you all in the show notes here. Share the biggest takeaway. But as we wrap, Marcella, is there anything that you haven't said that you want to tell our listeners?
Yeah, again, I think it really goes back with understanding that taking control of your money is not selfish. It's a form of self-care and leadership. And I know we're dealing with some powerful women leaders here. I want to encourage you to do a self-assessment and really reach out to me if you want to get more information about how do I really deal with any money memories and money traumas. But take the time to do a self-assessment with what are my money beliefs, and go back into envisioning your past, and then take a moment to envision what does your future look like. What do you want? I want you to ask yourself this question: what do I want moving forward? You can That's one simple question, could be so challenging. It's one of the hardest questions you can ask anyone, but I think particularly women, because we're taught for so long about putting other people first. So I want you to take the time to really be able to ask yourself, what do you want? When you get more clear around that, you'll get more clear around your money decisions, and you'll continue to grow and build wealth with confidence and with purpose.
Ooh, so good. Well, thank you for giving us the insight, the seed, the planted seed that hopefully some of y'all are water. Some of you guys, you stepped on your toes, which is good. Thank you for showing us what's possible when we go after all that's available for us, not what our past has said, but what our future is waiting for. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yay. So you guys know at the end of every episode, I asked it a few minutes ago. I'm going to ask it again. Share in the comments. I want to know the insight you got here. Listen, I got a page of notes. I'm sure you do too. And if you don't, it's probably because you're driving. So once you pull over, I want you to either right here, if you're watching it on YouTube, right here in the comments, the takeaways you got, or come on over to Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and write your takeaways from this episode. That's number one. Number two, I'm always going to ask you to share because other people in your network, in your tribe, in your family, in your community need the insight Marcella just shared with you so that they can pregame their legacy, right? Legacy pregame and all the other takeaways that she gave to us. All right. So, with that, it's always my honor and privilege to be here with you and to thank you for joining us for this episode. I'll see you next time for another episode of the Meaningful Work Podcast. Bye, y'all.